Gopi Jana Bala Bala Kidavaradari Yasodanandana Brajanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kanjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kanjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Kidavaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Kidavaradari Yasodanandana Brajanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kanjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kanjabi Hari Jayam Swa Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privajaka Charja Asatar Sita Sri Srimad Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Swa Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajaka Charja Asatar Sita Sri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sri Mathura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, the Science of Krishna, Canto 3, the Status Quo, Chapter 6, Creation of the Universal Form, text number 18. Twacham Asya Vinirbinam Dishnyam Oshadi Amshena Ramabi Kandum Yai Asal Pradipadyate Tatramasya Vinirbinam Vivishur Dishyam Odasadihi Amshena Ramabi Kandum Yarasa Padipadyate Tatramasya Vinirbinam Vivishur Dishyam Oshadahi Amshena Ramabi Kandum Yarasa Padipadyate Tvachamasya Vinirbinam Vishur Dishnam Oshadahi Amsena Ramabi Kandam Yar Asa Pradipadyate
Chamasya Vinirbinam Vishurdishyam Oshadi Angshena Ramabhikandum Yaraso Patipajite
Vachamasya Vinirbhinam Vishordishnam Oshadhi Angshena Roma Bhikandam Yar Aso Pratipadyate
Tachamasya Vinirbhinam Viveshwardishnamo Sharihi Angsena Ramavi Kandum Yarasa Pratipadyate
Vachamasya Vinirbhinam Vivishordishnam Oshadhi Angshena Roma Bhikandum Yar Aso Pratipadyate
Tvachamasya Vinirbhinam Vivishurdishnamosadihi Amshena Ramapi Kandum Yarso Pratipadyate
Tvachamasya Vinirpinam Vivishurdishnamosati Amshena Ramapi Kandum Yayarasa Patipadyate Shamasya Vinirpinam Vivishurdishnamosati Amshena Ramapi Kandum Yaraso Pratipadyate
Vacham Asya Vinirbhinam Vivishurdishnam Asodihi Amshena Ramavishkandam Yedashu Pratipradyate
Tvachamasya vinirbinam Vishordishnam oshadi Amshena romabi kandum Yairaso pratipadyate
Twacham, skin, asya, form, vinir, being separately manifested. Vivishu, entered. Dishnyam, the controlling deity. Ushadi, sensations. Amshena, with parts. Ramabi, through the hairs on the body. Kandum, itching. Yai, by which. Asal, the living entity. Pradipadyate, experiences. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. When there was a separate manifestation of skin, the controlling deities of sensations and the parts entered into it, and thus the living entities feel itching and happiness due to touch. Report. For sense perception, there are two principal items, touch and itching, and both of them are controlled by the skin and hairs on the body. According to Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti, the controlling deity of touch is the air passing within the body, and the controlling deity of the hairs on the body is Oshadya. For the skin, the object of perception is touch, and for the hairs on the body, the object of perception is itching. Donovan Maharaj, we'd like to hear your comments.
Everything is under the direction of the demigods. Demigods are working under the direction of Krishna. And they're managing all the different affairs, even down to the touch sensation, the itching sensation. How does this happen? How does it work? It's very complicated. We can't figure it out, but we can appreciate that it must be very amazing. Must be a great intelligence. This is a sign of intelligence. One can see that I cannot perceive it directly, but there must be some great intelligence behind this amazing arrangement. Therefore, those who are intelligent, they always show respect to the demigods. They don't disrespect the demigods because they know demigods are working under the direction of the Lord. And if I disrespect them, then I will be indirectly disrespecting the Lord. So the demigods should be offered respect, not necessarily respect like they're God. Not that they are God. That would be improper. But they're very good servants of the Lord. These different verses are explaining how it goes on. Because we have a desire to know how things work and why they work. It's like the other day we were hearing about the different directions. So there's demigods in charge of the directions. If you're going north, then you're going to be under the auspices of the demigod in charge of the north for that particular region. And just like when you pass through an airport and you're in one country and you're on your way to another country, there's a stopover there. You stop, you have to show your papers. You have to show your passport before you can go further. Otherwise, you don't get any further. So if you think, I'll just go there and because I'm such a wonderful person, I'm sure they'll, no, they won't be pleased with that. You won't get through.
Vladimir Mars, thank you so much. So the demigods are the controllers of this material world under the direction of the Supreme Lord Krishna. And in every verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, one gets new enlightenment about the absolute truth. And we come to the realization that this world is full of persons of different degrees of intelligence and capabilities and opulence. And the higher living entities are called demigods, and they're entrusted with managing, creating, and destroying this universe in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And it says in Bhagavad Gita that King Ambarish engaged all his senses in the service of the Lord. And he engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of devotees. And the Pujari also engages his sense of touch in touching the body of the deities. While the Pujari is dressing Srila Prabhupada or Shri Shri Gaura, he gets the opportunity for purification by touching the transcendental body of the deity. And every morning the Pujari wakes the deity by touching his lotus feet. And this is a great benediction. Jai Shri Shri Gaura. And when we're when the Vaishnava is honoring prasadam, he gets the opportunity to become purified, not only by the tongue, but he uses his right hand and touching the prasadam. And the prasadam offered to the Lord, accepted by the Lord, is not different from Krishna. So by touching the prasadam with one's right hand, one becomes purified just as much as from eating the prasadam, one's body becomes gradually purified. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whose appearance day is today, wrote a nice song of how to honor prasad in the proper mentality. And the sense of touch, sometimes pleasing and sometimes displeasing. For example, in the summer season, water is pleasing to the touch, but the same water in the winter season is displeasing to the touch. Matra sparsha satkanta ya sadoshna sakadukada agama paino natyas tamtadikshasva bharata. But a devotee doesn't hesitate to take his bath, even in the month of Magh, but it's very cold and the water is displeasing. Still, one who follows religious principles take his bath early in the morning. And what we saw in the life of Srila Prabhupada in his old age, around 1976, Prabhupada had a cold, but still he was taking bath early in the morning, even in Allahabad. Allahabad is the place where the Kumbh Mela was located that year. And it's at the confluence of the rivers Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. And millions of pilgrims came there to become liberated by touching the sacred waters of the Ganges and Yamuna. And these rivers are purifying because they emanate from the lotus feet of the Lord. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur led a life of incessant labor and activity on behalf of the Supreme Lord Krishna. He appeared in this world in 1838. And when he was a boy, he spent his childhood at the house of his maternal grandfather at the age of 13 after his father died. And he was requested to be present at the time of the passing away of his paternal grandfather, whose name was Rajavallabha Datta. And this Rajavallabha Datta was a great famous personality in Calcutta. And he retired to a lonely place in Orissa. And this Rajavallabha Datta had supernatural powers. He could predict the future because he was in touch with supernatural beings. And he knew when he would die. And he requested Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who at that time, he was known as Kedarnath Datta or Kane Datta. So he requested his grandson, Kane Datta, to be present at the time of his passing away from this world. And his grandfather gave him instructions to visit all the major temples and ashrams in the state of Orissa. And when Kedarnath Datta grew up, he became in the educational service, and he was the first one to introduce the English language in the state of Orissa. And he was transferred to Jagannath Puri, where he was promoted to the position of magistrate. And the magistrate is a very big almost next to governor of Orissa. And the magistrate was in charge of the great temple in Jagannath Puri. And at that time, when he was magistrate, it was brought to his attention by the British government that there was there's an upstart who was agitating against the British government, and his name is Pashiki Sena. And this Pashiki Sena declared himself to be an incarnation of Mahavishnu. And when Bhaktivinoda Thakur investigated this guy, he found out that he was a culprit and a fraud, and he ordered him to be arrested. And this Pashiki Sena threatened Bhaktivinoda Thakur that it will not be good for you if you harass me in this way. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was undaunted, and he was sentenced to something like 2 years in prison. But this Pashiki Sena died in prison after his hair was cut, because a yogi loses his mystic powers when his hair is cut. And this Pashiki Sena was held on dread by the common people. And he had some mystic powers where he can make sparks fly out of his hair. And there was, in another village, there was an imposter Balaram who declared himself to be Balaram, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur similarly cut down this rascal. And there were other pseudo-incarnations which Bhaktivinoda Thakur dealt with similarly. And in Jagannath Puri, Bhaktivinoda Thakur regulated the the foodstuff offerings to Baladev, Subhadra, and Jagannath to their extreme punctuality, and he corrected many things that were not according to scriptural regulations in Jagannath Puri. So he did great service for Lord Jagannath, and he was also held in high esteem by the British government, and he was held in high esteem by the educated population. And it was brought to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's attention that in the village called Jyoti Mangalapur, of which he was the proprietor, it came to his attention that religious pilgrims who came there on a rainy night were turned away, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur threatened to resume the ownership of this place because this place was given to him by his ancestors for the purpose of a dharmasala to provide shelter for the religious pilgrims who came to see the Lord in the temple. And sometime around the year 1894, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted to find the actual place of Lord Chaitanya's appearance in this world, in the land of Navadvip. And at that time, some people were saying that the city of Navadvip is the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. And what is called Navadvip today, in Lord Chaitanya's time, that place was called Kulia. But that was not the actual place of Lord Chaitanya's birth, because Kulia is on the western bank of the Ganga, and Mayapur is on the eastern bank of the Ganga. And Mayapur is the actual place of Lord Chaitanya's birth. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur went there, accompanied by other devotees like Jagannath Das Babaji, and they found the actual place of Lord Chaitanya's birth in Mayapur. And in that place, there was an abundance of tulsi trees, and at that time it was in the possession of the Mohammedans. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was very enthusiastic to establish this place as the actual place of Lord Chaitanya's birth. And he decided to erect a beautiful temple there, a temple of Gaur Vishnu Priya. And the temple is still there in Mayapur, and there's a big neem tree there. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was prepared to go to the house of every Hindu gentleman and beg from them one rupee for the noble purpose of establishing this place of pilgrimage at the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was successful. So that so the whole world should feel gratitude for Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because he was the pioneer of the program to benedict the entire world with Krishna consciousness. And he wanted all the nations of the world to unite and send kirtan. He wanted to see devotees from many different countries chanting together in kirtan, and this is happening now. So Krishna's fulfilling Bhaktivinoda Thakur's desire, and he predicted there will appear a personality soon appear who will preach the holy name of Krishna all over the world. And in the year 1908, after Bhaktivinoda Thakur had retired to Jagannath Puri in 1908, he accepted the renounced order of life from Srila Jagannath Das Babaji. And at that time, he was still meeting all kinds of people who were coming to him for spiritual instructions. And in the year 1910, he shut himself up and he concentrated his mind on the eternal pastimes of the Lord for 4 years. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's entire life is very exemplary. Whether he was a householder, as a householder, he used his sex life for the purpose of begetting Krishna conscious children. He didn't beget children like cats and dogs, but he begot brahmacharis like Bhaktivinoda Thakur and other brahmacharis, lifelong brahmacharis. So this is one. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was his most exalted children. He had something like 10 children, sons and daughters. And he prayed for a ray of Vishnu. And as a result, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati appeared. And after the death of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's mother, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, one of these samadhi built in Mayapur because he recognized that his mother was 2 times his first wife died. And he wrote so many literatures in different languages, English and Sanskrit. But here are going to be songs going to imbibe the most confidential conclusions of all the Vedas. Any comments or questions? Yes. Lakshmi Priya.
Lakshmi Priya.
Yes.
Prabhu, I have several questions about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. 3 of them have to do with him finding the place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the first question is, 1, how did they get the whole entire city wrong? 2, how did and then once they figured it out, how did they get the audience temple there?
As far as I know, they first Thakur secured a very old map that showed the actual place of worship on this earth. It was not as holy, it was a Maya world.
I had an answer to that too. Is that
Could you use a mic?
There's that Shogya Vaishnava it was taken over by Mayavadis and performing Russell. These men dressed in women's clothes. You know, you can look about online, it's like in the Western days, in 1800s, guys with the beards and stuff, you know, wearing socks. And so they go to Vaishnava, there's this group, and they had another place that they're trying to say was a place for time. And when spiritual master Bhakti Jagannath. Yeah, Jagannath, yeah, he was very, very indolent. He couldn't even hold his eyes open. Right? He was carried around in a wicker basket. But when they went to the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, which was taken over by Tulsis, he immediately jumped out of the basket and started.
So you said that he went. I don't remember the exact words you used, but he basically focused on the pastimes of Krishna for like 4 years straight.
Yes.
How does he do that? Like internally, or like is he reading the scriptures, or like how does he do that?
When they come that Achyutananda Maharaj wrote for the Vaishnava song, it just says that he shut himself up. 1914 till he was passing away 4 years later. We can imitate that. You have to work very hard now for Krishna various activities. Try to sit down and meditate on the pastimes of the Lord, simply go to sleep, waste our life, start meditating on money and woman.
I have one more question. So you said Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life is exactly much for Krishna consciousness, like Yogi Hasta. So, you know, for us boys, I know these boys are brahmacharis, and you know, I'm not married. You know, how should we follow in Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and how should we follow in his footsteps, and how should we also understand that there are some things that he did that we shouldn't follow? Like, how do we know the difference?
The purpose of Grihastha life is to develop Krishna consciousness. And if Krishna is the center of the house of life, then it's very good to become genial. And the 4 actions, brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and sannyas. So we have to make Krishna the center of all our activities. Performed that even when he was a household. He was born in opulent circumstances, but in his early life, he had to undergo many difficulties. So most of Lord Chaitanya's associates were householders. Jananda was a householder, Vaitacharya was a householder, Gadadhar was a householder, he was also a householder. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also married twice. So the bhakti code is so powerful that even in household life, I can make advancement in Krishna consciousness. But the Gyanis and the yogis, they demand celibacy. There's no scope for us sex life for a Jnani or yogi. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, One can perform yoga. One practices celibacy. Otherwise, it's not possible.
I haven't heard yet, so thank you. It's very nice. I heard from Prabhupada through a transcendental diary that his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he sometimes, or at least in one instance, actually chastised his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in relation to his.
Okay.
Please continue with what you're saying. Finish your sentence or your point. Dr. Joseph, you can continue with what you were saying. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Can you hear? Okay, so Dr. Joseph, please continue and finish what you were saying. Dr. Joseph, finish what you were saying.
Okay. Yeah, so there's this instance in a transcendental diary in which Prabhupada's talking about how Bhaktisiddhanta chastises his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And it was along the lines of like, you know, you're so addicted to women, you've been married twice. You know? And it was Prabhupada has said this in his kind of painting of the picture of how strict his spiritual master was. Bhaktisiddhanta, so strict, you know, like you said, just a lifelong brahmachari, incredible pure devotee. But we can understand that his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, was also a pure devotee. So we have a pure devotee who's saying this to another pure devotee, and it's a very complex thing for me to try to understand. I'm very eager to hear any thoughts that it might arise within you.
Sometimes the criticism of the center is always Christian. It's like the spiritual world where the left wing goes and the right wing goes. There's just sometimes the balance, but the center of their existence is Christian.
Okay.
Even though Bhaktisiddhanta was such a strict brahmachari, still he praised the gopis for Dhamma, almost the devotees of the world, because they were experiencing most intimate dealings with Krishna.
I'm able to read it. I'm ready to read. Can you hear me?
It's time for the Sankirtan Festival. Thank you for your patience.
Can you hear?
All the time, all the grace, divine grace,
Can you hear me?
Can you go and check if he wants to say his comment real quick?
Can you hear?
Maharaj wants to make a comment, so we can just wait for a second.
Can you hold the book for me? Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, hold it. That's good. Hold it now. In a book of his entitled Sri Amnaya Sutra, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote, in the Garga Samhita, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 27, it is said, quote, I take shelter of the perfect Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is older than the oldest, greater than the greatest, the Supreme Person, the Supreme Master, full of transcendental bliss, a jewel mind of mercy, and a jewel mind of transcendental virtues, end quote. In his Sri Navadvip Dhamma Mahatmya, Chapter 3, Text 94, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote, quote, Srila Baladeva Uvacha Srimad Bhagavatam Divyam Pranam Vachanam Tada Gorang Vyasya Sampraptir Bhavishati Nasangshaha. Lord Balaram said, quote, the splendid Srimad Bhagavatam, Purana, predicts the appearance of Lord Gora. Of this there is no doubt. Garga Samhita, Canto 5, Chapter 34, Text 83. So we see Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur quoted Garga Samhita over 20 times in his different books. I just wanted to make that known to the devotees so they can once in a while glance at those quotes in the beginning of the Garga Samhita volumes. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai.
Though for the transcendental pleasure of Sri Sri Gaur Nitai, Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Nrsimhadev, Tulsi Maharani, all the Vaishnava acharyas, specifically Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, and all the assembled devotees who announced the bookstores for the past week. Okay. Oh, I didn't do it. You can see that. Thank you. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 book distributors, 6 book distributors. Haribo. So, with 1 small book and 1 medium book for 0.75 book points, Bhakta Aiden. Haribo. With 8 small books for 2 book points, Mridanga Prabhu. And 4th position with 2 small, 15 medium, 18 big, and 2 Maha big books for a total of 30 book points, Bhakti Caleb. And I guess there's 5 there. Nice. Okay, so 2nd position with 45 small books, 21 medium books, and 22 big books for a total of 44.75 book points, Magadharida. In 1st position with 50 small books, 127 medium books, 121 big books, and 19 Maha big books for a total of 235 book points. Bhakta Joseph, Hari Haribo. Total for each category. Yeah. Like the number of each category. Okay, so I can give a highlight now, and then we'll get the total book score. So we went out to the Fiesta Hispanico or something like that, and it was like Mexican or Latin festival at the HEB Center downtown, and there's quite a lot of people, and it was a little tough. A lot of people were kind of scared of the books, but we kept trying. We showed them to a lot of people and trying to stay positive. So I was working and it wasn't really going so well, but somebody just pulled up in a car and said, "Hey, do you have some literature?" I was like, "Yeah, that's what I do." And he was like, "Yeah, I want one right now." So I just came over and gave him one, and he gave a donation. And it was just a nice encouragement that people are interested in learning, but we just have to be patient, and Krishna will bring them to us. Transcendental Book Distribution Team Challenge. Okay, so Bhakti Caleb, you give your highlight.
I went to the amphitheater to Bhakti David. We did quite a few books for my level of distributing, which was nice. And didn't expect this, but we met another book while we were there in Monte Carlos.
Did somebody take a Maha big book? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I distributed one of the Bhagavad Gita's, and yeah, I've never.
Arrivo! Yeah.
But one that sticks out to me is that the Fiesta Fest.
I don't know what to do.
Spanish festival. Yeah.
Okay. You can go ahead.
We went to the Fiesta Fest. And there's this two ladies who's not in the car. I approached them. And yeah, I'm really noticing how much more comfortable I am when a person's now like walking in a fast-paced manner. They're like sitting in their car, getting ready to pull out, or they're just pulled into a place. And it's a total difference in the way the encounter goes. I see almost every single time. There's so much more receptive to at least hear me, at least. So that's nice. These two ladies, they definitely heard what I had to say. The lady who was sitting in the driver's seat that I was closest to, she wasn't really interested at all. She kind of like was like pushing me away. But her friend in the passenger seat started reaching for money. So she was interested, and somehow or other the conversations continued on. I was very glorifying these books that come up this illness. Just talking about my experience with them. And the same stuff that I was saying. That I mean, just about wanting to share with people and help them. Anyway, as her friend was handing me money, she started reaching for her money, just like out of nowhere. It was like in a way that I could tell was so subtle that she didn't even realize she was doing it. This is like a really cool experience to just see Krishna like working in her life in that moment to support us. And her whole demeanor kind of changed, and she just opened her back up and started asking questions. And then by the end of the encounter, she took a book herself. So her friend took a book and she took a book. It's just like a really negative moment where I was left like walking away from the car, and I just had no idea what really would happen. It's just everything kind of switched up before I even processed it. Yeah, I imagine the same experience happened for her. So, transcendental book distribution.
Who does the person? Which color?
So we were at the bottom of doing Hare and there was some there was like this guy who was out in the Verizon phone store. He was like outside of the door, and then there were two girls inside of the door, inside the glass. So they were together, but he for some reason was outside the glass. So I gave him a book, and I didn't know if he was going to be interested or not. And then he took the book and gave a donation, and then all of a sudden he started dancing with the Hare party, and all of the girls, they also became very favorable. They started dancing inside the store. Then they came outside the store, and then they waved to us as we were going, you know, and gave us like simple, like, we love you guys, big heart and everything. So it turned into a completely unexpected chance encounter that evening. It was really wow. Transcendental book distribution.
Oh yeah, there was a man who said that he was interested in some spirituality before, but he hadn't any time. So, but we got to speaking, and he basically told me that he would take this book and then he would look at it. And I told him that there were some nice pictures, so he'd at least look at the pictures. And I thought that was pretty funny and also pretty inspiring because, you know, at least we can look at the pictures. Transcendental vocation.
Okay. So we will read the totals for the week. Get those up. So for this past week at RBC, we had 106 small books, 164 medium books, 161 big books, and 21 Maha big books, for a total of 312.5 book points. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Yeah, we are doing a half-day fest. Half-day fest Ki Jai. Personal peace Ki